Welcome to the lab. I'm Seth, and I'm here with Cody and Kel. How are you guys doing today?
Today has been a day for me, but I'm getting through it. So, how are you all?
You know, yeah, getting through it as well somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a story. This last week, I moved, and I feel like that's all I've talked about on the podcast in the last, 2 or 3 weeks. Anyway, I ended up eating shit and screwing up my leg a bit, and it's just been like a lot. The way I did it was very stupid. I had an existing injury there, so well, not existing, but an old injury, I guess. So it was quite painful, and it's feeling much better now. I think it was just the doctor said it was like a bone bruise or whatever, but that along with moving, I put in a record amount of steps, and that really pissed me off. When I looked, I was like, oh man, I bet my average is still low. And I look and it's like 11,000. And I was like looking at one day I got like 16K or something. And I was like, no freaking wonder by the end of the day I was in tears. Anyway, so yeah, that was my week. But we're looking up now, hopefully things will turn around.
Oh, I have a little story. But it was on a good end. So, I did a caffeine cleanse, and I did a week without caffeine to kind of try to break my tolerance. And fellas, it has been magical because I'm back on, but I have rules about it now, and I'm trying to contain my caffeine usage. And I have been sleeping wonderfully. My energy levels throughout the day don't fluctuate. It's been amazing. And I just had to brag a little because it was hell the first few days.
Yeah. No, thank you. I'm good.
Well, wait. So I'm open to it, but here's my proposition. We will check in on a weekly basis of how you're feeling, and we'll track the trend and be like, was it worth it? Because if you find that you end up going back to baseline, though I would say, have you cut it significantly, say from 400, 500 milligrams to 200?
So I went. I don't know the exact milligrams. I didn't track it that well, but I was at 4 or 5 cups of coffee in the morning, and then pre-workout with stim and possibly an energy drink, and so
800 milligrams.
Probably somewhere around there. And now I'm down to 2 cups of coffee. And then if I do instead of the coffee, I can have a stim workout, or I do just the coffee.
That was definitely a shit ton of coffee.
Dude, 800 milligrams? That's good that you're not doing that anymore. Jesus.
So
That's definitely an excess.
Yeah, and it wasn't working. That was the bad part. Is I was like, I just need more.
Yeah.
And then you just did meth, and you were like, that was it. No more caffeine. I'm just a meth addict. No, I'm just kidding.
But it's been great. It's been wonderful since I'm off the caffeine and since the withdrawals are gone.
Wait, so you're off the caffeine or you're off that? Well, yeah, you said, yeah.
Good. I was off, and now I'm
off
back
the lethal dose.
I'm back down to the normal human range.
So. He's testing himself. It's all... Stay hard.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Kel, that is awesome.
Good job, Kel.
I couldn't have done it. I'm shocked you were able to do it without killing somebody. You were nice last week. At least from what I saw.
I was on vacation last week. So...
Oh, yeah. Can't decide if that would be good or bad.
I don't know. It was easy because it wasn't anything in my normal routine. So
you're like, I'm already pissed. Let's just...
it's just I don't have anything to be upset about. It's just vacation.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good attitude to have.
True.
Well, anyways,
you don't have to, be alert. Sorry.
Right. No, I was going to say, speaking of Jonah Hill, what do you guys? I'm so sorry. The joke's so flat. The joke is that we weren't. Anyway, Cody's like, not funny today. Splat. Tomato. Anyway,
Speaking of Jonah Hill and not being funny.
Yeah, Jonah Hill's not funny. Yeah. He also played a character named Seth in Superbad.
And his best friend is Seth Rogen, maybe.
I
don't know if they're actually best friends.
But like you put them together. They're like they have to be. They work together so much.
They are together, right? Yeah.
But so there was a big controversy. Cody, do you want to fill us in on all of it? Give us the high level.
I often frequent the dumpster fire that is Twitter, even though we have this new shiny thing called Threads now, which has been great. I feel like it's like the Disney version of Twitter, where it's mostly happy and uplifting, and Twitter is like
the Six Flags.
It's Nickelodeon essentially, but like shittier. Because Nickelodeon was great, but it was a little fucked up, like Ren and Stimpy and weird kind of cartoons that give you nightmares. But anyway, so getting on Twitter a bit, there was a big controversy about Jonah Hill. Why was there a controversy around Jonah fucking Hill? So his ex-girlfriend released some text messages that they exchanged, and it was basically, it appeared that he was trying to set quote unquote boundaries with his girlfriend. And this is kind of something that is pretty big right now, just in the world, because we have access to Insta therapy and, their boundaries are huge. Everyone's writing books on boundaries. Everyone's supposed to be setting boundaries. Like even your mom, you're just like, fuck off, mom, boundaries. Okay. So like, I think people are taking it too far, and Jonah specifically used these boundaries in a way that isn't actually a boundary. It's more just like a control thing, in my opinion. But his ex-girlfriend was a surfer, just for some context and background. So this is what she does for a living. Should I read the text so people who don't have some context?
Yeah, maybe some of them.
So it was kind of a longer conversation, but I'll give you the meat of it that most people were passing around. Y'all can dig around and find the whole text conversation if you would like, but so just keep in mind that she is a surfer, so there is going to be surfing events. There's going to be photos of her in a bathing suit quite frequently, because that's her fucking career. And Jonah Hill's infamous text messages. I'm trying to find the actual.
We need music.
Guys. It's such a long conversation. I'm trying to find the main one. God, it's a long conversation. Okay.
He said she can't wear a bathing suit in pictures. He said
she can't be with surfers who are guys.
Let me just
with people women who are currently unstable. That was
like, what does that mean?
Okay.
Not in a good place or something.
Oh,
there we go.
Can't see that one. Okay, here it is. So the one that everyone's passing around. There's more context if you want it. But Jonah is setting these boundaries with his surfer girlfriend. He put, plain and simple, if you need surfing with men, boundaryless inappropriate friendships with men, to model, to post pictures of yourself in a bathing suit, to post sexual pictures, friendships with women who are in unstable places, and from your wild recent past beyond getting a lunch or coffee or something respectful, I am not the right partner for you. If these things bring you to a place of happiness, I support it, and there will be no hard feelings. These are my boundaries for a romantic partnership. My boundaries with you based on the ways these actions have hurt our trust. So those are his boundaries for his surfing girlfriend. What do you guys think?
First of all, I think we should discuss what is a boundary, and what is the difference between a boundary and a rule. And I'll say my piece really quick. A boundary has to do with control of yourself. You can only control yourself, and it's you don't have dominion over what other people do. You can have over how they treat you, but what they do with their own bodies, their own. That's not a boundary.
No,
That's
that's
being
control.
controlling. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just like he took that therapy speech and just ran with it in ways that don't work. But, you know, he thinks that it works because he's using therapy words.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just essentially. I don't know. To me, it seems very much like it's like culty speak. It's like I'm in control. Like it's just
Mhm.
placing himself above her in a really weird way. Also, I can't like it's just terrifying. Like, why did he think he can't? She can't wear a bathing suit. It's also then tapping into her control of her own money and career, which is even more like it's making him more in control of the relationship because he would talked about financially supporting her at one point too.
Yeah. And like also, he knew she was a surfer when they started dating. So did he not consider this? Does he just expect her to stop surfing? Or I don't understand. Like, he shouldn't have control over her friends, especially he's, you know, talking about not having friendship with these women that are in unstable places or whatever. But I think in some aspect or somewhere in those, she said that it's just that just means any friend that he never approved of, and that could mean anything. And that's like his opinion of these friends. Are they unstable or not? I don't know. Maybe that's just what he thinks. But it just sounds like he's not okay with anything that she's doing because he's very insecure. Like, that's all that I hear in those text messages.
Yeah. I think the reason it gives the sense of like it elicits a sense of disgust. I think for me at least, because anytime someone tries to draw power or credibility from something that is vague or like according to this gold standard, what else sounds like that? Religion. So you have these people who are using these words that are generally accepted. It's part of the culture now that you can sort of morph it into what you want it to look like, and then you have multiple people who are not informed. So she very much off the bat uh, sort of struck me as a person who understood that those weren't boundaries, which is why, if she was sharing that, I'm assuming partly why they ended up breaking up. So then you have to think, how many abusive relationships are like that, where both partners lack the context of what constitutes boundaries, and one ends up accepting dominion of another, and it's just really, really gross. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's it's pretty basic Christian principle relationship, which is why I actually saw this whole thing going on, because I don't know if y'all know who Candace Owens is, but probably, maybe, I don't know. So she tweeted out, I see nothing wrong with Jonah Hill setting boundaries within his relationship XYZ, but she's also a very kind of like Christian religious person. And it's like, of course you don't see any problems with this, because this is very in line with how generally Christian relationships work. You submit to your husband, he is in charge, he sets the rules, he says what you can and cannot do because you need to be submissive, and that's the end of story. So Jonah Hill kind of falls right into, like, he just needs to find a good Christian girl, is what it sounds like. But he's kind of a fucking dick himself. There's no way he's gonna, like, he wants Christian principles without being a fucking Christian. So unless he like repents and goes to church, he's not gonna find a girl that just follows whatever he says.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I
unless he picks someone
couldn't
who's
agree
very
more.
vulnerable, because I think these are the types of people who prey on vulnerable people.
They
People who have
oftentimes overlap.
crappy self-esteem and stuff like that. So I think he'll find someone that he can use, and I think he just had a baby, so and a wife.
Yeah, he already did.
So he found someone to, because I guarantee he's the same person with this new woman. Newer.
Yeah, I kind of got like dick vibes from him for a while. Some other things I feel like
Punchable
people
face.
was that
Punchable
punchable.
face.
Well, Well, yeah, but ever since like when he lost weight, I think he would get really upset when people would ask him questions about it or something. Like he was just kind of in a way where you normally wouldn't expect someone to be upset. Like he would just get upset, and he is like the least laid back comedian I feel like you could ever come across. He just seems so serious outside of whatever character he's playing. So this just kind of confirms that he's not the most pleasant, I feel like, and I mean, thank God that she's not super insecure and just rolled over it. I feel like she still tried to work with him. There was parts in the text where he was talking about certain pictures that she needed to remove from like her social media, and then she was like, I removed this one, is there any other ones that you see that like you like why, you know, which one should I remove? And then he's like, yeah, the ones where you're not in a thong. And she was like, not in a thong, but okay. Like it was just a bathing suit. So it was she still like tried to respect his wishes, which she didn't even have to do. But from what I saw in the text message, she was like really calm through the whole conversation and still was respectful, even though he was being a dick. So more power to her. I know some people are mad that she even released the text messages.
Oh yeah, that's a whole
But
different issue. We could get into
yeah,
that too. Uh, why is everything spectacle around stuff like this? I don't know enough about this to know what elicited her wanting to do it. If he was getting a bunch of press, like if it's sort of, I mean, I don't know. I don't expect celebrities to be perfect. I don't expect them to not be toxic people or to be good people or one way or another. They're just people who happen to be famous. So like the fact that he is clearly a deeply insecure man who is holding on to some amount of rage, probably around emasculation based off of his constantly being typecast as a fat loser. And then when he lost that, he lost roles, which I'm sure had multiple effects on him. One, gaining confidence because he's lost weight and he feels better about himself, but then the world just sees him as the fat guy, the ex-fat guy, or the skinny guy who is fat. I swear to God. It's like, I do see that with celebrities who lose a bunch of weight, like especially particularly the ones who bankrolled on their being overweight, or having that look, I guess you could say. They either have to divorce themselves completely, like Rebel Wilson, like basically being like, "Oh, I just did it so I could get in." Be like, "Shit!" Like, and then you start talking about like, is being fat an advantage amongst comedians? I don't know. We need to look at the data, but there's a lot there, and I think it just anyway. My point is I don't expect Jonah to be a perfect saint, but I do think unless there was something really specifically that was going on that she's like, I need to shed light on this. It strikes me as wanting attention. Honestly, they already broke up. What?
yeah.
You're just
Maybe
trying
she
to
was
ruin
just
his.
maybe she was tired. Like maybe people didn't believe her, and she was tired
Mm-hmm.
of like, you know, not being believed, and maybe she was being blamed for the breakup, and so she was like, "Fuck it, fine. I'm telling everyone the truth," because she said there's more to it that she chose to keep private. So apparently she could have, you know, dug his grave even deeper, but she
Mm.
chose not to. But you know, I do, you know, there probably is some weight into him having an identity crisis. But in the same sense, like Rebel Wilson still is fucking funny, and she's still making some pretty funny shit, stuff that I didn't expect to be funny. I forget the name of it, but one of her newest ones I watched on accident. I was laughing. So, anyways, yeah. So it's not to say that he's like just completely can't find the same roles or whatever that he was in previously. You can still be funny after weight loss. I think maybe that's all he had. Like he
That's
didn't
what
have
I'm
as much.
saying.
He didn't have a lot of depth to him, and now people are like, this guy's kind of just a dick.
Yeah, I never found him particularly funny. And you know, he just strikes me as like kind of the typical guy who's like that as far as being insecure and wanting to control how their girlfriend or wife is perceived, which is
Yeah.
gross and weird. And no one deserves that.
He feels very much like the fuckboy who's evolved into being older. He's like the middle-aged fuckboy now, and it's like this is what
He didn't
we
get to have
is.
that, so now he's doing.
Like he's yeah, so he's like I don't know if like a fuckboy went to therapy for like 2 sessions and then was like, okay, that's enough, and now is using
Yeah.
that to kind of try a different shtick. And I don't know, like I agree with the spectacle thing, but I think that is what celebrity is. That's what celebrities do, and
Yeah,
I don't know,
and
entertains everybody.
definitely some tones and notes of narcissism, because in one of the texts he's like, I'm sorry your therapist thinks I suck. I think I'm the best boyfriend in the world. So it's
Okay.
like, you are hopeless. Okay, bye.
Yeah, I do think it kind of sheds light on not just people who use therapeutic language, maliciously in this case, but I think there's a lot of that, but it's not malicious, but it is harmful. I think there's a lot of discourse on the internet between people who misappropriate those words and end up making light of words. I think like triggered is a good one, right? We say I'm triggered, but that really is like a clinical thing that applies to specific diagnoses, and we sort of just throw that around. Anyway, that's yeah.
Yeah.
There's that pendulum
Thanks,
swing
Insta therapy.
yeah, that pendulum swing that Cody loves to talk about, and how like none of our parents ever went to therapy, even though we begged them, and now like everybody in our generation is gone, and now we're seeing,
Yeah,
yeah, you know what I mean? That's what it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
This swing.
I think I saw some. I'm gonna fuck it up. I think it was some therapist or whatever who was like, go to therapy to, help work through your. Go to therapy for 10 years to help work through your shit. Go to therapy for 2 days, and get a lifetime of ways to manipulate your spouse or something.
Ew, that's gross.
Yeah.
Use I statements, dear.
Right. Yeah. So, yep. I think
I
it's
always fall back on the one. My favorite is the we go to therapy to deal with the trauma that people who refuse to go to therapy dealt
it's
with.
true. Yeah, that's accurate. I feel like the people who cause the trauma are the ones who refuse to go to therapy because they have like zero self-awareness and nothing is wrong with them. They're perfect. They got nothing to fix. So they're fine, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Who's the Instagram therapist who posts with her? It's just like a picture with words, but like a tiger. She's always got like the. You know who I'm talking about.
I was like,
I
you gotta be more specific. There's all of them do that. Yeah.
like the little.
I can't say her name because
I know
I,
it's
I,
lovely, but
I
I
know
can't say it.
she's. Yeah, she's Indian, so it's a last name I can't pronounce, but I know who you're talking about. It's like
Yeah, I'm just gonna butcher it, and I feel bad, but it's. I really like her content. For instance, like the word trauma. I think she's talked about that a bunch of times. How that word has sort of been misappropriated. Yeah, it's blurry, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Blurry.
Yeah, it's like Sarut K
Yeah, there's.
Chawla.
Yeah, I like her
Yeah,
stuff.
I like her shit because she's not therapisty. She's straight to the point, and she's like no bullshit type of therapist, which I generally enjoy. And she's even said like, I'm not a meditation. She doesn't like meditation. She's like, that's not someone who's I look up to or who's a role model to me. I like David Goggins. I'm like, fuck yes. That's I like you. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I really think she's more about, not to go off on a huge tangent, but someone who I think is actively fighting back against a lot of that misappropriation. At least the people are willing to hear her out because,
Cheers.
yeah, I hear people all the time making excuses for their shitty behavior with therapy words.
Yep, I think that's exactly what she does. She can come off as kind of harsh sometimes, but I think that's what people need.
The truth can suck.
Yeah, she gives the truth, and she is not afraid to share that. So that's what I like about her. I tend to go over to her page when I'm looking for some tough love.
Yeah.
I think that's more of what she's about, but that's what you fucking need sometimes, because I feel like a lot of times when you go for people use things for excuses because it's like it's all fluffy. It's like, it's okay. If you are depressed and you don't want to get out of bed, you just stay there. You stay there until the flies come. You stay there until the roaches eat your body. Like, it's just bizarre. It's like, give yourself grace. Life is hard. Like, no fucking shit. It's hard, but you gotta try. So she just kind of gives people a little kick in the butt of being like, hey, there's gonna be hard times. There's times to give yourself grace. But there's also times to kick your own ass because you got to keep living life.
Yeah.
And it must go on.
Yes,
you know?
because there's going to be times where things suck. The difference is having that empowerment to cope. So that's the point of therapy, is coping with life, because life is not easy. Anyway, we could go on and on about that, but yeah, we need to stop making there's a fine line, I believe, between making excuses for yourself and honoring your experience. And I really think that you can have both. You can acknowledge where you're falling short and where you need to change. Like, that's, I think, a big difference in mentality. For, say, if you're getting a lot of negative feedback from people, or there's just you feel like there's a lot of negativity coming at you, a lot of people, I think, can turn and be like, well, the world is out to get me. There's all this bad stuff happening. But ultimately, I think a lot of times if people would look within, they might actually find the problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, should we transition on over to our topic for today?
Yes, we shall.
Alrighty.
So.
Well, Cody and Kel, I just wanted you to know that tomorrow I'm planning on eating 1,800 calories of pizza. Is that a good idea?
No.
For multiple reasons, right? But you know, the calorie counters say if my maintenance is 2,000, assuming, then I'm in a deficit. But there's so many reasons why that's not a good or sustainable plan, right? So I think that's
right.
Yeah.
For our audience, yeah. So what we're talking about is macros and meal plans, and specifically if it fits your macros and stuff like that. What is a good idea? What is good? What is bad? What is
let's
temporary?
define some stuff first. So I think we should define the difference of like nutrition, ways that people think about nutrition, and like using their nutrition to help lose weight or gain muscle or whatever. So there's a couple different ways. A lot of people will do macro counting, which is like, I feel like the most common way to do it. We have like flexible dieting is another term that you hear a lot for it. And then what we are going to talk about a lot today is that if it fits your macros. So that is, you can eat whatever you want as long as it fits these three numbers. That's how it works. Done. Have you guys done macros like that before, back in the day?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know that I've ever been like, yeah, this fits my macros, so it's cool. I'm eating Taco Bell and McDonald's, and it doesn't matter. But I've done, macros for quite some time. But,
yeah, I think the difference there would be like, intelligent food choices. So when I did it, I was like, well, this fits my goals, because my goals at the time, weren't to get healthy. I just didn't like the way I looked. So I was like, well, I'll definitely lose weight if I do the math and eat this. But long term, like, you're not getting those vitamins and nutrients, and you're not staying full if you're just eating pizza all the time. And you probably feel like shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I used to do it, especially when I was partying a lot, and I would count in the beers and stuff.
Yeah.
We can schedule those. And
600.
And so I think it was really rough, but to be honest, like I did make progress at the beginning just because the math works, right? So if I was eating at little enough that I could have beer for dinner and stuff, and it will work, which is I think half the problem at the beginning, because it will work at the beginning if you're not doing anything, but it gets real old real quick because you're starving all the
time. Well, plus it's just like you start feeling like shit because you're not getting the micronutrients you need if you're just focusing on the macros. So I feel like if it fits your macros is strictly aesthetic reasons only. You're not really concerned about health, because you could just be like, fuck vegetables. I'm not eating vegetables. I don't need to. I've already got my macros figured out. We're having pizza for breakfast. We're having Taco Bell for lunch, and well, dinner is definitely Chinese food. So all of that obviously is not going to be the healthiest. It's not going to be the most clean fuel for your body. Not a lot of micronutrients there, besides maybe some vegetables and the chow mein. But yeah, it's not great.
The green peppers on the pizza, though.
It's the
Got
fiber. Cooked down. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's one
yeah.
piece. One
So,
It's-
yeah. Yeah. So it's just basically like uh, it can work for people as a transitional phase. If you're just starting out and say you don't like vegetables or you haven't really adjusted your palate yet, it could be a good little way to transition to maybe jumpstart some weight loss, where then you kind of get a little bit more motivation going because you feel a little bit better after losing some weight. And then maybe you want to go the extra mile and feel a lot better by making sure you're eating more nutrient dense food. So I feel like it's kind of a gateway drug to proper nutrition.
I agree. Yes,
But
that's a great way.
all
to
the
put it.
coolest people are doing it.
but it shouldn't be like your final resting point.
Resting place. I was so sure you were going to say resting place. So I absolutely agree, and I think I've talked about this before, but for a long time, and I still am. I think for like friends who ask me what I eat, I'm like, you probably won't want to eat the way I eat, but generally, macro friendly. If it isn't just totally all processed food, like finding macro friendly alternatives for like burgers or pizza, and if you make that in a way that's like more healthful, I guess it can be a good thing. But then long term, I think it's best to just kind of keep things as neutrally beneficial as possible. But I think everyone has like their sliding of enjoyment to optimal ratio, whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is kind of one of those things, like it's a tool in the toolbox that can be like, if someone's going through it, they're going to be on the road for a month, and that's what they can do. Okay, let's do it. But again, it's not something that's going to work for you long term, and it's not going to get you probably all the way to your goals.
Yeah, I would love to see some kind of literature if they could do like a controlled experiment, because I think people tend to say like, well, like we're saying it doesn't work long term, but it seems like in theory, if you did do the math, like if the only goal is weight loss and they follow that to a T, and they actually do control for calories, because we all know fast food doesn't actually reflect accurate calories, and just seeing what that actually amounts to, because I'm sure their blood values would probably be bad, but then you kind of wonder like, would they lose weight if you controlled for that? Because people self-report so poorly. Like if they're like, "Oh yeah, I followed it and I didn't lose a pound," like, but were they going to McDonald's and were they eating like that and just going by the menus? Anyway.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
well, when I think about saying it long term, I mean like how you're feeling, because you're not going to be able to live like that forever.
Oh yeah, you feel like shit.
And the health points, like your cholesterol will be crazy, your blood pressure will be crazy. So that's what I mean long term.
Oh no, definitely, yeah. Overall health, not just like body mass index.
Exactly.
I feel like the biggest component to people connecting the food with how they feel is the exercise component. And so maybe if you're someone who doesn't start off with exercise, you just start off changing your nutrition or paying attention to the macros. That might, be better for you initially because you're not so focused on how something's making you feel, you're focused on numbers. But I feel like once you start incorporating exercise, specifically strength training, you're going to start realizing how certain foods make you feel. And that's a big motivation to make sure you're getting different types of food, nutrient dense foods, because you'll see how it starts to impact your performance, your digestion, sort of things like that. So it's like, I know even if I have a treat meal, whether it's crumble cookies or whatever, the next day in the gym, it's not so great. Like your joints hurt. Depends how old you are too.
I was gonna say, oh,
Joints hurt. Maybe you're a little constipated.
maybe you have an
a little
allergy.
bloated, carrying some extra water, some things like that. So it's like you kind of start to connect the dots there. So, and I also feel that there's these people out there that like to say, diets don't work. They're like, people gain back the weight. So there's no reason to do it. And I feel like one of the biggest reasons that people gain weight back is because they don't focus on changing their body composition. They don't focus on lifting weights, adding lean tissue, because that in turn, speeds up your metabolism so you can eat more. The reason it gets so unsustainable is because people think they have to keep eating less and less and less and doing more and more cardio. Therefore, like completely devoiding their body of muscle, and their metabolism is in the fucking toilet. And then the moment that they decide, like, I'm gonna have a cheat day, then like the fat just starts piling on because you don't even have enough muscle. Like, you don't have to maintain a certain weight. Your body's just like, cool, we're gonna just store all this shit. So it's just like, I feel like strength training is such a big key. It's like, yes, nutrition also, but in order to make it sustainable, that strength training factor is so huge. I can't even express how detrimental that is.
Like a pre-workout. Oh, that guy, I don't know if you guys have seen this guy on Instagram, but he does it pre-workout, and he eats all kinds of food, and then he sees if it works as a pre-workout. Yes, no. I'll send it to you if you haven't seen it. It's funny, but I don't know if it's very comedic. It's meant to be funny, but there's definitely the underlying message, because I'm pretty sure every time he's posted something that was like clearly not a good choice, at least from my perspective, he would be like, don't do it. Don't do it. So it's sort of like, without people even thinking about it, maybe being like, yeah, maybe this won't really fuel me very well for today, because it's not just about working out, right? It's like your functional ability to go through your day and walk up and down stairs, and it's all related.
Yeah, for sure.
And then so I know we have a little bit of a different goal than a lot of people who listen, but I know we've all had some experience on meal plans. So what do you guys feel in meal plans versus macros? Where are your heads at?
Yeah, I think it depends on your goals. Definitely. If you are a bodybuilding competitor, there's more chance that you're going to be, on a meal plan, or doing better with meal plan, at least at the starting point. So if you have not a lot of experience with macros, and your coach wants to like make sure that you're covering all bases, macros are going to be a better or meal plan is going to be a better option for you. But macros for like more experienced bodybuilders or lifestyle clients are the ones, that's what I recommend, because you can have more variety. The problem with meal plans is, it's basically the same thing every day, and people tend to like get tired of eating the same shit every day. So then that's when it comes to be not so sustainable, but also almost kind of handicaps you if you never started off with macros to begin with, because you're like, cool, you're just mindlessly eating these meals that you're assigned. But then when you're like set free on your own, then it's like, oh shit, what do I eat? What do I eat to hit these macros? And then, basically shit hits the fan, and you just eat everything. And then you're like, you ghost your coach, and I never see you again. So I feel like macros are the more sustainable approach for the majority of people in the long run, because it's not just telling you what to eat, it's teaching you how to eat. Meal plans, there's a place and time, but generally not going to be sustainable for most people.
Yeah, it's funny to be talking about this right now, because as Cody knows, I've been I think Kel does too. I think you both know. I've been kind of leaning more into macros, kind of loosening things up a little bit per Cody's allowing. And ironically, I found, as I've been logging in my Fitness Pal, that I just ended up saving meals. I have just taken my 5 meals and made them 4, and I eat even less variety. That is what I freaking did. So I need to revisit that, because it's like hearing you say like, yeah, you know, people get bored of it. I'm like, I just made almost all my meals chicken and rice or cereal. I'm like, I'm a monster, because I've been like generally content with that for the last week or so. And I'm like, anyway, so that's that feels silly, because the whole point is like, hey, you know, you wanted some variety. Here's a banana, a blueberry, and I'm like, oh man, I already figured it out. I know exactly how many fats and carbs and proteins are in this. This is great. Just press the button. It's whatever's like going to be less choice. It feels like decision fatigue. But yeah, I do agree with you. I think that depending on what your goals are, it's almost always better to do macros. But Cody will tell you, don't freaking go by, say, if you're going out to eat, whatever they say the calories are, that's not it. Because when I was tracking macros, I was eating out all the time and being like, it's fine, the menu says it's 650 calories and I have 660 calories left. It's really 850 calories, and then you're doing that like 3 or 4 times a week, and you're like, this is really weird, why haven't I lost any weight? Yeah. Just because you didn't put cheese on your soft taco from Taco Bell does not mean I remember you saying that in seconds, be like, quit that shit. Quit that shit. I see you. I see you.
Well, yeah, you were
2 months out. 2 months out.
Crap.
That's why I was fat.
I don't know why.
Yep.
I don't know why I'm not losing weight, as he ghosted me for like a fucking
This is all just Cody talking at me, but at the audience. Be like, yeah, you know, he goes, you just go off the fucking rails, man. And be like, yeah, I went on a bender of cheeseless Taco Bell, because everyone knows the cheese is the worst part. Anyway, as if it's not just a whole point, a vehicle for cheese. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I am with you though on the decision fatigue. I love meal plan for myself because I don't like thinking about what I'm going to eat. So I have my meal plan written on a piece of paper that's magneted to my fridge, and I'm like, what meal is it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I eat it.
Yeah, and it's like that is, especially, you know, when you're bodybuilding and in prep, and you have prep brain, options are not always your friend. So it's like I would encourage, you know, even if your coach allows you to do macros, to create your own little meal plan, just so you have consistency, because decision fatigue is a real thing, and there's a lot more opportunity to fuck things up, and maybe not intentionally, maybe accidentally. So yeah, it's easier to track too in MyFitnessPal, because it does this thing where it remembers, you know, what you ate for the past 5 days, where it's like, do you want to add your breakfast from yesterday? And you're like, oh yes, please. And tomorrow and the next day.
It seems like the people who are most successful with it usually have a rotating menu of like go-tos that they know that they can get and make quickly, that they don't have to think about too much. That's sort of like decision fatigue proof while also maintaining variety. I've always been like, that would be such a good idea for me to make that, and then I just because then I go, well, what else do I make? Chicken, rice. Anyway, Cal.
Yeah. So what I always tell people to do when they're trying to make it simple, because I don't cook well. Everybody knows this. So I like to pick. Well, no, I don't pick anything. But what I tell people to do is make like 2 carbs in bulk and 2 proteins in bulk, and switch between them. Add different flavors via sauce and spice, and there you go. Macros done simply.
Chow mein or fried rice?
No.
Macro friendly. It's a literal tablespoon. Be like, and that is 30 grams of fat.
Legit, especially Chinese food. But I feel like the thing too, where people really struggle with both, mostly with macro tracking, is because, so like our meals are like this trio, right? We've got our protein, our fats, and our carbs. And that's how we see meals. But people love fucking casseroles, apparently, or just like things that are all smushed together. And it's
pre-digested.
I get it. Like, maybe you learn it's your grandma's favorite chicken casserole and you just can't part from it. maybe, but if you could keep it to once a week, that would be great because it's so fucking hard to track that. And yes, MyFitnessPal is great where you can put the recipe in and make the serving sizes, but no one fucking does it. Even if I suggest it, they're like, that's a good idea. I'm like, yeah, you should try it. And then they just don't. But it's, you got to kind of think ahead. What's going to be the easiest to track? And then it just becomes second nature when you're just like, protein, veggies, carbs, cool. There is my complete meal. And like, that's just how I see every meal now, like, where can I get the protein? Where's the carbs? Where's the veggies? And then that's how I build meals. But it takes a while to get there because you got to separate from like chicken casseroles, meatloaf, enchiladas, like all these things that are all just piled in together. For one, like gives me anxiety just because I am a person who just doesn't like food all mixed together.
Like a casserole.
Yeah, because it's all like very one note, like lasagna. You're just like, it tastes good up until a point you're like, I need something new. It's very one note. It's delicious.
I'm just kidding. You're like,
but
have you ever?
It's just kind of boring.
Something really cursed. Just since we're talking about casseroles, and I know you're interested in the Duggars, the tater tot casserole. Have you considered? My mother made that all the time. My mother made that all the time. I bet. Dude, I made it once, like, I think a couple years ago. I think oh my God, just don't eat that. Your stomach will...
Oh my gosh. So this is a little bit of an offshoot, but it did remind me of this. So this is how white trash I was. And...
what kind of weird casserole?
So I didn't know this was weird until I was invited to a partner's Thanksgiving. And they're like, what does your family normally have? And I'm like, we have corn casserole. And they're like, what is that?
Oh, yeah.
And then I had to explain what corn casserole was. And it's so sad. So what you do is
just
you
like
get
cream corn.
Hold on. I'm going to tell you.
Oh, sorry.
And, so you get saltine crackers and you smush them up in a baggie, and that's the first layer. Second layer is canned corn, not creamed. Third layer, cream corn. Then another saltine layer. Add butter on top of that, and then repeat. Bake.
Oh, bake.
That is corn.
Okay,
casserole.
I would eat it. I would eat it.
That would make for an interesting poop. I will say.
Nothing is digested.
Does it clean you right out? Just like a mop. That's what the Pilgrims would have wanted.
Yeah.
So I would say, save the casseroles for Thanksgiving. That's where they belong. It's fine. The occasional quick casserole. People make them because they're supposed to be quick, but are they? They're not fucking quick. It's like all these like supposed convenience of casseroles. I am sorry to hate on casseroles, okay? I went to culinary school and I have not made a casserole since. So, lasagna is the only exception, right? It's like, I don't know. It's not any easier. I feel like the only acceptable reason to make a casserole is if you actually did have 19 kids and counting, like you just had a
boom, 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 boom. Industrial size of it.
It's funny because I do think it's a Midwest thing. And
yeah,
I think that's everybody.
Well, it's a German
here
thing.
had a bunch of kids and a bunch of busy moms.
Yeah.
What you got was your damn casserole.
I hate to say it, but I'm pretty sure I've looked up the history of casserole before, and I think it's because of the German influence in like the settlers who came over, and they liked making everything into wurst and smushy, and a lot of Europeans do that. Yeah, we'd be ruining stuff. Come over here with our bad food, and
all the white people came over here and made those
corn and potatoes and ruined it.
And you don't need seasoning for casserole.
You lose the flavor of the chicken breast if you add anything. You need
if you put fucking saltines in it, of course you don't need.
You need to get the flavor from the saltine.
Well, I remember we
instead of salt, we just use crackers.
Saltine.
the only way that I had broccoli when I was a kid was in broccoli casserole. That was the only way I had broccoli until I was in
Not
college.
even cheesy broccoli?
Well, there was cheese in the broccoli.
Broccoli cheese in the broccoli Cassie.
It was rice,
Yeah.
I know what this episode's going to get called.
frozen broccoli, and cheese.
I got cheesy broccoli, but no broccoli casserole.
Cheesy broccoli is not good.
Yeah.
No.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
Perfume on poo.
Well,
It's like,
I do feel like we went off track into the casserole land, and I feel like
Yes, we
fault.
did.
It's a serious problem in the macro world. How do we solve it? Get rid of them.
well,
Maddie could just make a meal prep a bunch of quiches.
oh,
Does that
okay.
fall into the
That's-
category of casserole?
Kinda, because it's a lot of ingredients all in one. Kind of like pot pies. Like, fuck.
Oh,
how do
pot
you fucking
pie.
check 'em? Pot pie. Yeah, don't, because you shouldn't be eating that shit.
So good.
Or shepherd's pie.
Mince pie.
So,
Steak and
okay,
potato
so
pie.
here's the solution, guys.
Pasties.
You can eat your casserole foods, but it really shouldn't be an everyday thing. It should be occasional enough to where it's not a hassle to enter the recipe into MyFitnessPal and at least kind of consider the calorie content if you have goals. If you don't, I don't care. Eat your
Can I give a very helpful
Like-
hint to casserole lovers such as myself who are trying to watch their figure? This is how you do it. You take your sweet potato meal, whatever it is. You take your sweet potato and you take vegetables that would typically be in shepherd's pie, such as peas. You put it together with ground beef or ground turkey and you mix it together. My brain is like, this is casserole and I'm happy, but it's clean. And you're disgusted. You're like, why would you even do that? But it's
That would taste like shit.
I love it. I do it all the time. All the time.
Nah, I mean, it would taste like pretty good to all of us here, but
Dog food, dog food, dog food, dog food.
Yeah, because shepherd's pie also comes with particular gravy mixed.
Yeah, you just can't have gravy. It's with sans gravy.
Yeah.
You could do
Yeah.
ketchup, sugar-free ketchup.
But is it even worth it?
Yeah, I like it. I can't have the gravy. You got to pretend it's not real.
You just gotta pretend you have.
This is
gravy,
the
that's
perfect
secret.
shepherd's pie. There's nothing wrong with it.
Oh man. In all seriousness, though, I'm not trying to poop completely on casseroles. I have enjoyed a casserole in my life. I have made some casseroles in my life for sure. Mostly when I've been too lazy to make enchiladas, I just turn it into an enchilada casserole because I'm like, fuck these goddamn fucking tortillas. I'm not rolling them up and frying them. Like, I'm just laying them down. I'm putting shit on top.
Yeah, isn't it an enchilada kind of a casserole? Like the way it's baked because of the
Yeah.
sauce, but it's not really. It's more like a lasagna. And a lasagna is not a casserole. It's more of like a cake, like a tiramisu.
Except for it's not sweet, so it's
It's a savory tiramisu.
it's a deconstruct.
I was gonna say a deconstructed casserole, if it fits your macro.
Yeah.
God.
But no, I'm not trying to poop on people's finest cuisines. It's just like you have to consider what your goals are, and you can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results, right? So if you're wondering why you can't lose weight and you're eating casseroles every night, you might need to evaluate what is actually happening.
What's in the casserole?
Yeah.
That's fair.
Anyways.
That is a good example of like how that can be a problem.
Yeah. It's hard to track foods when
They're mixed
you
together.
or when you're making it in big batches. Soup is another example that's hard to track because there's so many things going in it. But again, you can enter it in the recipe, and soup's not something we eat every day. It's more popular in the winter. Right now, if you eat soup, you're crazy. It's hot as hell. But like being able to put that recipe in MyFitnessPal, breaking down the servings, that's going to be, of course, an extra step. But you can do it, especially if you're serious about your goals. Like, anything is possible if you're serious about your goals. You can even do it with the casseroles. It just has to be more calculated, and it's another step. But if you want it bad enough, you'll do it, and you'll figure a way to make it work. That's end
I
of
hope our
story.
casserole listeners are like, they feel calmed by that, by your explanation, because, you're going to get canceled. They have serious money.
Out casserole canceled.
This guy's.
Casserole case.
How did you get canceled? Oh yeah, I talk shit about casseroles.
And yeah, you don't understand their significance to
Yeah, I'm very
Kel's,
privileged
to
to
Kel's
talk
culture.
Culture.
You say your corn casserole's bad. I would eat the shit out of that corn casserole if it's like butter crispy
I'm
on
sure
the top.
it's delicious.
Delicious.
No, I'm sure it tastes great.
It's like, that's not the point. Yeah, it's just an abomination.
They're all good. Right. No, not even that. It's just like it just is a headache to track. Is all.
It's a carb, is all it is. A carb and some fat.
It's a carb
And
with
fat.
some more carbs and some more carbs.
Like
and
five,
a lot
yeah,
of
like 7/8 carb or 6/8 carb.
layers of fat and carbs.
Yeah. It's a treat meal. Just keep it at that. So
Send me that recipe, guys.
family meals in general are the hardest ones to track, even if it is the trio of protein, carbs, veggies, that sort of thing, and fats. I don't count the carbs. I mean, veggies are carbs, but they're still minuscule. I'm talking, when I say carb, I mean like rice or potato. What the fuck? there is a fly. Dude, there's so many fucking flies. I'm going to lose my mind. Like, I can't. I feel like the fucking dirty.
You can see it's
right on the camera.
It's all zoomed in. Oh my god!
Tonight, I'm cooking a flag.
My air conditioning's broken.
Yeah. Oh, well, that sucks.
So if I seem flustered, that's why.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know what else to say.
So yeah,
Really
that's
cut
all
that.
we have to say about nutrition coaching and stuff like that. So gateway drug is fit in your macros into macro learning and how to cook healthy macros, and then sometimes a meal plan can be required if you have super specific goals or are really crunched on time.
Yeah, I think we forgot to touch on, so intuitive eating is something that's really big right now, so basically my standpoint on this is that you can't just right off the gate intuitively eat if you're trying to lose weight, because you literally intuitively ate yourself to that point. And it's hard to eat intuitively when you have a lot of processed foods in your diet, because those foods are literally designed to have you keep eating. So it's really hard just to be like, intuitively eat one serving size of potato chips. Unless you've counted your macros before and know what a serving size looks like, you're not going to know what that looks like at all. So I think intuitive eating is something that is possible, very possible, after a phase of tracking your macros closely, learning what serving sizes actually look like, and then getting in the habit of that, doing that for an allotted amount of time, and then kind of trying it out, following, keeping track of portions after kind of getting an eye for what they should look like. That's where I think intuitive eating can come into play. And, just keeping tabs and allowing yourself to fluctuate maybe on the scale anywhere between, 10 pounds, and staying within that range. If your clothes start fitting tighter, dial back the portion sizes, maybe get back into tracking if you don't know what's going on. But yeah, I'm just here to say it's possible. It's just not something that you could be able to do off the bat if you don't have any knowledge of what serving sizes are meant for you.
Definitely. I'm going to sound like Liver King when I say this, but whenever people make the blanket statement that intuitive eating doesn't work, I'm like, how long have we known about calories? You know, like humans have been sort of like kind of eating until, you know, and like with scarcity and stuff. But like you said, the problem is processed food. So the people who I know who practice intuitive eating successfully are people who do like 80-20, like 80%, you know, like clean, healthy food, like eating, you know, fibrous vegetables, etc. And then having some treats just like sort of, you know, if you have your other needs met, like emotionally and stuff, like a lot of times you're not even going to want to eat a bunch of junk anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's key. It's like, you know, if you're trying to eat intuitively, help yourself out. Make sure you're getting most of your foods that are, you know, whole foods, nutrient dense foods, because it's going to be a lot more satiating. It's not obviously going to be just by default mostly less calories, and it's not made to make you keep eating. So keep your treats. You know, stick to whole foods as much as possible. I think that's why things, you know, like fucking like keto and carnivore and paleo, people do so well in those because
you cut out for I guess 8 seconds.
Yeah.
So time.
Oh, it's fine. We'll just. I'm done talking.
I like you. I was. Oh, I guess we can talk about it later.
I'm done.
Were you talking about casserole? Like, anyway, back about casserole.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So should we power talk it?
Yeah, let's hit the power talk. Let me pull it on up. So, I just started listening to a book by Jocko, who is a Navy SEAL. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. You know Jocko?
Nope.
So
Cool.
he's a Navy SEAL. He's a inspirational speaker, and like talks about his thing is extreme ownership. So this is the quote I have from him. We all have the tendency to avoid our weaknesses. When we do that, we never get progress, and we never get any better. And I really like that just because I think nutrition is that one aspect that people tend to be super scared of. They're like, okay, fine, I'll exercise, but I don't really want to change how I'm eating. And I feel like that is the Achilles tendon to a lot of people. Like, you just have to go all the way. You have to own what your weaknesses are. If you're really bad at doing the food stuff, the nutrition stuff, then you're never really going to get anywhere because it plays such a major role. So I thought that fit really well with what we talked about today.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that guy out.
Yeah. Maddie's reading the book, so I started it, but it's extreme ownership.
Extreme.
Is it like dollar store David Goggins, or is it like good?
He's like I would say he's in the same vein as Goggins, but he talks a lot more about entrepreneurship and stuff like that.
Not just physical challenges.
Yeah. So it's about
he's
being a leader.
So he's like James Clear.
Yeah.
David Goggins.
Yeah, but he's like kind of
he's
older. He's a little bit older than David Goggins is.
I guess he's.
So yeah.
Mm.
So it's pretty
Cool.
good.
Cool. Thanks, Cal.
Sweet.
Of
Yeah.
course.
All right. Well, I guess
until
that
next
wraps it
time.
up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Make sure you like, subscribe, leave us a comment or review. Tell us what you want to
Yeah.
hear.
If you wish.
Yeah, don't feel obligated, but it would be
Only if you feel like
and
it,
only if
you
it's
know.
really not.
All right.
All right.
Peace
Later,
out.
guys.
Bye.